It's 1998 and Amos N. Wilson walks through a crowded black neighborhood in Harlem. Around him, stores shuttered, homes slowly falling into disrepair. He sees more than decay, he sees a warning. White and Asian powers have cornered African life, and survival depends on more than just protest. It depends on power that turns the tables. But what does power really mean here, and how do you build it from the ground up? That question hangs thick in the air. Wilson puts a sharp spotlight on real estate, the very land African people occupy as the bedrock of true power. Without it, other attempts are futile. But how does ownership translate into survival and strength? Wilson highlights Harlem in the late 20th century, once a hub of black wealth and business. Now less than 10% of residents there own their homes. Banks and speculators thrive while families get priced out, and the community loses both roots and influence. This isn't happenstance, it's a designed erosion of black economic base right at home. Think of land like the foundation of a skyscraper. Without a solid base, the whole structure falls. Wilson argues that economic power must depend on tangible assets, real estate, businesses, infrastructure. This grounding prevents outside forces from continually uprooting and exploiting the community. Power, like a building, can't float on words alone. When African Americans regain control over their neighborhoods, they claim not just money but their destiny. Wilson raises a striking insight. Economic destiny determines biological destiny. Owning land means access to better schools, health, and safety. Power here isn't abstract, it's life itself shifting course. Wilson doesn't just diagnose deficits, he unveils the raw mechanics of why power favors whites over African Americans. The balance of power isn't accidental, it's a system built on who can enforce what. Wilson makes it clear, theories like psychological deficit or cultural failure don't explain white dominance over blacks. The truth is blunt. Whites maintain power because they have the means, money, guns, laws, social control to do so. It's less about why and more about who has the muscle. Picture power like a river's current. You can build dams or redirect flows, but it keeps moving. Wilson stresses that power isn't static. It flows through institutions, laws, and economic control. Without changing those channels, African people stay stuck in the shallow edges, unable to reach deeper influence. To truly shift power, Wilson argues blacks must grasp and wield enforcement tools, from police oversight to control of local economies. It's not enough to protest or hold pride. The prize is in practical, systemic control, the levers used to enforce decisions that shape life every day. Wilson's vision isn't just critique, it's a call to arms with a practical, radical plan for black survival and thriving in the 21st century. What does winning look like on his terms? Wilson champions community-owned enterprises and land trusts as pillars for economic independence. Instead of relying on outside investors, local ownership circulates wealth within neighborhoods, building sustainable power. He cites examples from Chicago's South Side, where black-led cooperatives began reclaiming business spaces with relentless grassroots energy. Survival skills aren't enough, Wilson warns. Black education must focus on knowledge that builds power, financial literacy, political strategy, history from an African perspective. This re-education, often missing in mainstream systems, equips people to reclaim their communities rather than fall victim to them. At the heart of the blueprint is institution building, schools, banks, police oversight committees run by and for African people. Wilson's surprising insight, creating your own justice and economic institutions isn't separatism, it's self-defense. This structural shift transforms mere existence into flourishing self-determination. Back in Harlem, those crumbling buildings whisper their story. Black survival isn't a question of hope, it's a matter of power, real, enforced, owned power. Amos Wilson's blueprint reminds you, start with the land beneath your feet. Build, own, command. Try this today, look around your neighborhood and imagine one asset you or your community could take control of to shift your own destiny. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.